The Canadian Real Estate Association just released the year-end data for 2022, and it is staggering. The home price index recorded the most substantial losses since records began, down 7.5% over December of 2022, and home prices fell 16.4% off the peak in March, making 2022 one of the worst years on record as far as housing prices go. But here's where things get really scary. Home sales in December were down 39%. That is an astronomical number and well off the 10-year average. And all of this means only one thing for 2023. It's going to be one heck of an interesting year. But before I get into the details, my name is Nolan Mathias, and if you want to thrive financially, this is the place for you. So go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget, my new book, Mortgage Secrets, just came out, and I'm giving away the first 500 copies. All you have to do is go to mortgagesecrets.ca and pay the shipping and handling. I'm not sure how many are going to be left when you get there, but make sure you get there fast in order to secure yours. Okay, so 2022 was a rough year for Canadian real estate after coming off one of the best years in history in 2021. And this is no surprise, as a lot of the buyers that we expected to buy in 2023 and 2024 and 2025 moved up their home buying plans to 2021 in order to make sure that they didn't get priced out of the market. Now, for a lot of people, this was probably a mistake, and as home prices come down, there are a lot of people that are feeling that pain. But with rising interest rates and a continued slowdown in the market, it's no surprise that we saw the December numbers down almost 39% relative to the year prior. Now, this was up slightly from the November numbers, which is a good sign because we typically don't see December numbers higher than November numbers, but it can't be ignored that home sales were down significantly, and not just compared to last year, but compared to what typically happens in the December market. This is well below the 10-year moving average for December's home sales. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. If we go ahead and we take a look at the stats here, this is the 10-year moving average for sales. And as you can see, the number of sales has dropped below the 10-year moving average since about the middle of the year. And this is getting substantially worse as time goes on. Now, it hasn't been this bad since about the beginning of the pandemic. And prior to that, 2008 and 2009, this was right around the financial crisis. So what can we expect going into 2023? Well, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see these home sales come back up in the next year or so. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some confidence from Canadians that the Bank of Canada is going to stop raising interest rates as quickly as they did in 2022. And it's also going to take some time for people to jump back into the market, because if you look at the new listings in the market, these are down substantially as well. Sellers are sitting on the sidelines, and in a lot of markets, inventory is down quite substantially. And the reason for this is because a lot of people just don't want to realize the losses or lock in the losses that transpired over the course of 2022. So what they're hoping for is that the market turns around and that at some point in the future, they'll be able to sell for what the property was worth at the beginning of 2022 in March and February when housing prices were so high. Now, even with the significant reduction of home sales in December, the residential market in Canada seems to have balanced itself out, moving towards more of a balanced market than a buyer's or a seller's market. And this is where the numbers get interesting in my mind, because even with the reduction of sales and reduced new listings, the reduction in sales is outpowering the reduction in new listings, leading us to a balanced market. This is where we get in that 3 to 4 month supply range. And as you can see, the sales to new listing ratio is down in this 50% range, which is about where we want to see it typically. And in general, having that 3 to 4 months of supply in the real estate market represents a healthy market in most cases. Now, if we really want to get into the reduction in sales and the reduction in prices that occurred in 2022, it's really a tale of two markets, and that is BC and Ontario. Most of Ontario and certain pockets of British Columbia. And as you can see, their prices are down anywhere from 10 to 15%. But if you start taking a look at markets like Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, Alberta, and Manitoba, housing prices are actually up in those markets compared to what they were in 2021. And in markets like Saskatchewan, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia, housing prices are down, but not significantly. So really what this tells us is that the majority of the bad things that are happening in the Canadian real estate market are happening in two markets. And they also happen to be the two markets that had the biggest increases in prices in 2020 and 2021. In other words, they are the markets that had irrational exuberance, and therefore they are the markets that are falling the quickest. And a lot of other markets like Calgary, like Edmonton, like Manitoba, very much have sound fundamentals that are causing the markets to remain fairly flat. Now, at this point, Korea has not released forward looking statements, but that hasn't stopped some of the bank economists from coming out with their own forecasts for what 2023 and growth going forward is going to look like. For example, TD recently came out with their expectations for annual growth in sales and average home prices. And the numbers here I find quite interesting. First and foremost, they're predicting that home prices in Canada will come down by 10.7% in 2023. Now, we already know that they are down off of the highs from March, which means that if this is the case and home prices are going to be down by 10.7%, well, that means that they're expecting the end of 2023 to look pretty rosy for the Canadian real estate market, which means if this is correct, that the first half, the first 2 quarters of 2023 are probably going to be the best opportunities to buy. Now, where I don't see where they're coming from on some of the numbers is the Alberta numbers, the Saskatchewan numbers down 5.6, down 6.9%. These are markets that have proven to be robust even while Ontario and BC have taken on massive declines. So I don't think that these predictions are going to end up being accurate. In fact, I think they are probably very conservative with respect to what will actually happen in the market. In fact, I would read this as more of a wish list of what TD is hoping will happen rather than an accurate prediction of what will happen. And here's the thing. Nobody has a crystal ball. It becomes very, very, very hard to predict what is going to happen in any real estate market. And economists are known and famous for making predictions, not getting them right, and then going back and telling people why they were wrong and the surprises that made their predictions basically irrelevant. So here's the thing with respect to buying in 2023. I wouldn't be buying based on the predictions that home prices are going to go down or they're going to go up. And I wouldn't be staying out of the market based on predictions that housing prices are going to go down by another 10%. Because the reality here is that the right time to buy real estate is when you are ready to buy real estate. And being ready to buy real estate means you can afford the property that you're buying, you can withstand any sort of storms that come your way financially, whether it's job loss or higher interest rates, and that you're buying a place that you can live in for the next 10 to 15 years and not have to worry about whether the value fluctuates by 10% in a single 12-month period. Because if you are buying for the long term, you will almost always win in real estate. In fact, Stats Canada just put out some really interesting data with respect to renters versus buyers. And it shows that when you near retirement, if you had been a renter, your net worth was typically around $40,000. But if you had been a homeowner, your net worth would be well into the $900,000 range. So long term, this goes to show that real estate is one of the best investments you can make, and it is one of the most certain ways to build wealth. And in a future video here on renting versus buying, I'm going to talk about why renting versus buying and the calculations you often see online are wrong and why buying is almost always a better choice than renting. And we're going to make it really simple to understand. There's going to be no fuzzy math, no weird analogies. It's going to be the simple basic facts. If this fact right here, which is that owning a property obviously makes you better off long term, isn't enough for you. Now, on top of everything I've talked about in this video with respect to buying in the first half versus waiting until the end of the year and buying at the right time for you, there are some rule changes that just came down the pipe from OSFI. It looks like they're going to take effect probably in April or May. It's uncertain exactly what they're going to be, but if you want to find out what those changes are, check out this video right here and make sure you watch that one because it's important. If you wait for too long, you may find yourself not being able to buy in 2023 because of the drastic rule changes that OSFI is about to make.